morning, traders, and a happy Wednesday out there to everyone. Hope that y'all had a good evening there and all ready for the day lining up in front of us. As we know, we're fairly light on the economic calendar as far as the U.S. is concerned. Just for the early portions, we do have the Bank of Canada that'll be due out at 9:45 Eastern there, as well as their press conference that they'll have out at 10:30, which is also when we'll. And those are pretty much the main line items out there for today. Home sales at and there just to the pit session display. Forward to make note of, and then into the after have the be able to hop. It could be. Let's see here. All right. So with that, coming into the session here, as we know, yesterday we did make a lower low on the daily chart, and we did proceed to close back beneath the 5 SMA on the daily displays. We have the 5 SMA coming in at 58.92, right? And thank you all for the heads up there on the microphone. Appreciate all that. So at the moment, we're sitting inside the tail area from yesterday's trading. We know we put in the low of 58.61 and a quarter. So we started to narrow the spread. Our 20-period EMA on the daily chart, of course, continues to rise, right? As if this were just 5-minute S&P data. So we're doing a fine job on keeping ourselves maintained. We will still have that creeping up and rising. 5 SMA today coming in at 58.92. So that's where we're standing on the daily, coming in with our intraday display of data. We know we discussed this yesterday, our cycle highs that we had been putting in up until yesterday. We had been working with slightly lower cycle highs, so yesterday we had a slightly better advancement on the counter-reactive lift, and we've been coming down in a reasonable, viewing this as being an ABC down on this hourly structure. So, as we could see down below, we came up through this area fairly impulsively, so viewing the 65 mark as kind of being more of a caution zone for us. We can always add a yellow label there just to kind of indicate that, and that would coincide with our previous spike tail low. So coming down to the lower end of the zone would be coinciding with the tail area from yesterday, but at the moment, do really like this hourly structure. Coming down in a reasonable two-part wave. Again, 5 SMA is a little bit of a ways up there. That's coming in at 92, so it'll take us a little effort to get back up towards that point. But should we, try and heal at all, that will be our kind of reference point up above, and then we have the 65 down below as more of a caution zone. Right? We had our 2 days of high to low trading. We made 2 lower lows on the daily chart, so we're starting to keep this thing a little bit more under pressure. But at the moment, I really like those hourly charts to service there in the S&Ps, just to kind of help us operate in terms of seeing how we will be treating the tail area from yesterday. Alright, and then we have our DAX future. The DAX is quite a bit different. Yes, we did have the close below the 5 SMA daily, but as we'll see here, we got the range expansion down out of balance, and we did get the follow through or looked below the low into the following day's trading. That's the 19,569. So as we could see here with the DAX, we've done a better job on trading back to the 20-period EMA on the daily display. Right, that came in at 19,442. So slightly different rhythm than that of the ES in that we came down with a little better job of range expansion out of balance. So it gave them a little bit more leeway, and we don't have to concern ourselves as much with the persistency of trend there on behalf of the DAX. Coming in for the intraday here, in this case we can also use the hourly displays. We talked about how we came down in a fairly orderly format. We have still the lower cycle highs in the DAX. Right, again, we shifted that tone slightly yesterday in the ES. If we just come in here and use our drawing tools, that's our first lower cycle high, second, and third. So keeping up with that tone, a bit more defined there in the case of the DAX, where again in the ES we came up here and made that slightly better look above the 5,900 mark, which shifted the structure slightly. So DAX still making the lower lows. We do have the yellow line there to serve as a hurdle. Right, we took it out yesterday, which was the caution zone to begin with, so we proceed to make lower lows overnight. So 19,532 is going to be a hurdle for them up above from where we're trading here currently. So I like that display though to keep in mind there for our DAX future. We'll keep it scaled accordingly, but that's where we're coming into the session with on the ES and the DAX. So small spreads there on the daily charts, and now we got down to the 20-period EMA, better on the DAX, and we're still leaving that point looming there on the E-minis. Alright, and then we have our euro currency, again, just adding an additional day into its count. Right, we had the expansion down from balance. We are keeping it purely on one side of the 5 SMA daily. We have not had it close back above it for 17 trading days. Right, so that's why it's important when we do get onto these extended runs, how important it is to take it into account, because we can see them carry themselves quite a number of days. This will be our third instance now. We can get rid of this colored little circle there. This will be our third instance of closing outside our lower Keltner channel boundary on the daily, and we're quite a way stretched away. 1.08410 would be the 5 SMA daily, so we're not really anywhere near that point. If we add a couple more data points into the mix and start to blow this up on the big picture structure, we can see as well that we're doing these past 3 trading days, all of the work is taking place beneath the 1.08375 in the euro currency. So still as it has been, right, no change in tone until further notice, right? We're down until further notice there as far as the euro currency is concerned. Really in need of 3-bar balance mode, right, or that wide range reversal feeling, because those are the 2 line items that can put an end to the extended runs, which we don't have as of yet. That's a lower low in the price and no higher low structure or anything along those lines. So still having some fairly good work cut out for itself there on behalf of the euro currency. All right, and then on the other side of the spectrum, right, since the euro currency has the extended run down, the gold is the one that has its persistency of trend coming into the upside. Right, we've worked our way up and added an additional close above the 5 SMA yesterday. We had our set of 3, 6, 7, and day 8 there on the close yesterday. 2740 is where it comes in today. And also, right, just good to note, as we looked above 2708.7 there in the gold, we really haven't looked back all too much, right? All of our consolidation days have taken place well above our previous high test there in the gold. So keeping themselves maintained, we will have 2740 to keep in mind on the sheets there. Just because if we did get the first close below, we would have it flagged on the sheets and everything. So we made the higher high. Again, yesterday we closed outside upper Keltner channel boundary on the daily chart. So we got some follow through overnight. We made a slightly higher high and are proceeding to just work ourselves back inside of the previous day's range slightly. We're back below the 2763, so just along the way. It's a very mild zone, but since it ties in with the previous spike high that we have here on the 60-minute charts, right, our nice steady churn rally cycle high, then we backed off. So as we pull back or retrace it all, I'm like viewing the 2755.4 as being a level of interest. If you go down to like a 15-minute chart, we'll kind of see as to where this zone came from in the overnight. We kind of had the sharp down and then sharp back up through the zone, so we had some good activity there in the gold. But as we retrace, we can also kind of view this 2755 as being the inside pocket area here on the 15-minute chart. So as you'll see, couple one time framing bars here on the 15-minute chart overnight, so this would be synonymous with filling in some of the structural work from the Globex session. So that's taking the 60-minute display all the way down to a 15-minute chart, just to kind of keep us in line with what we had unfolding overnight, as well as the structure that we have here on the daily, keeping up with that extended run. The blue dash line here is there to represent that 5 SMA daily, so as we can see, we're holding a fairly good spread between those two broader points at the moment. So that is where we are leaving off with there in the gold. Alright, and then we have the crude into the mix here with its EIA data. That will be due out later on in the day. We had a fairly good advancement in the crude in that we came out of balance to the upside, or we got range expansion out of the inside range bar. we put in a high of 72.09, right? Which was also, as we can see here, pushing up against the original impulse bar down that we had, which left a few single prints along the way. So on the intraday display here, in particular with the crude, this was our initial damage that was done from the middle portions of this month. So we marched our way up with good range expansion, right, coming out and in particular above the 71 mark for the crude. So if we look over here to the far left hand side, you can see we started to enter in towards that lighter developed area, and overnight, right, we failed to make a full retest up. Right, we kind of closed with this flag formation, if we would, on the 30-minute display. Right, so we tried to push back up. We couldn't quite maintain the full retest up, so we proceeded to form more of that U-turn structure, or if you want to view this as being an ABC down, that's fine as well. Where are we trading? Well, that would be coinciding with yesterday's markup phase that we had before our opening. Right, range expansion, this was around 5:30 a.m. We had our impulse pulled back before coming into our day session, had our next surge, so now we're coming back in and just filling in some of the advancement from yesterday. So along the way here, and this is going to be more so for the 30-minute chart, I could monitor this zone here. This would be our 69.85. It's just a hair below that 70 handle, just simply because that's kind of where we accelerated a little better there in the crude from yesterday's trading. So that's taken the daily chart, expansion up from balance, no follow through or test of that previous day's high because we formed lower high or U-turn structure. So coming back down, filling out some range, and as we know, that 70 handle also coincides with a bit of that chunky volume node from all the sideways line we've been building out there in the crude. Alright, and then lastly here we have the bonds. Bonds really being pretty smooth with their approach as well. Here with the yield displays, we would want to note we would be opening with sizable gap, and we are opening above 4.5%. So bonds steady as they go. They're closing outside the lower Keltner channel boundary. On the intraday displays of data, don't really have anything on the constructive side, so to speak. Yesterday we came up into lighter developed structure, respected it fairly well, backed off, and we've been taking out the previous day's low. Always like to take a look at the notes, make sure they're in similar standings, and rest assured that the 10 years as well have made lower lows on the daily, so no non-confirmation between those groups. Really got 118.02 there as the previous low on the 120-minute chart. And we'll see if we get any play around that, but otherwise we're still keeping up with the theme. Nice momentum readings on the oscillator. We see the slow line trying to heal and not getting any type of response from price, letting us know that we are still indeed on the heavy side there with the bonds. Alright, so with that, just get our little ES back in order here. Thanks again everyone for letting me know about the microphone there. Hopefully we'll be back in good standing order, and we'll see as to what type of developments we get going on here off of our 8 a.m. reading in this morning session. But a couple different groups there that we want to latch onto there. The 60-minute and the 120-minute displays have some decent technicals for some of these other futures that we can latch on to and be aware of there.